Hello, hello. How is everyone doing today? I hope everyone is doing great. It's been a really, really interesting day for me. I did a lot of changes in my house, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. But you cannot imagine sometimes how the smallest change can make the biggest difference. So welcome everyone to today's webinar. Today, we're going to be together for around an hour. I'm going to be focusing on literally everything that I have learned so far over the past several years. And this is why I'm doing this today. Everything that I've learned over the past few years is why I'm doing this today. I've learned a lot about the limiting beliefs that we can develop throughout the years and how they hinder us, how they stop us from developing our own life. I've learned a lot about the why behind everything that we do, because a lot of times we get stuck. We don't really know what the why is. And I've also learned about how energy is so important and how the energy of things around us can actually affect us. And these are the main three things that I'm going to be focusing on today in today's webinar. Now, I want you to stick to the end, because at the end, I have an invitation for you. And during the webinar, I'm going to be sharing a lot of information. I might be asking you a lot of some questions as well. So please feel free to answer those questions. If you have any questions, also ask them, and I'll probably get back to them at the end of the webinar and answer any questions that you have. Now, if you don't ask any questions today, you can always ask them later. If you are watching the replay of this, you will have the chance to also ask the questions when you watch the replay. You can send them to me by Messenger. You can share them on the Facebook group so that also everyone else can benefit from your questions. So to start with today, I want to tell you what used to happen to me. So a few years back, I used to do things that would take a lot of work, a lot of dedication from my side, a lot of effort. I used to come up with all these amazing ideas. And I tell you, if I look somewhere in my drawers or maybe also in my files on my laptop, I will find a lot of those ideas. So I would come up with those beautiful ideas, those amazing ideas, and would prepare, a lot of information, a lot of legwork. I would go the extra mile and even more than the extra mile so that I can gather all the information that I need to make sure that I can actually execute that idea. So I would do the full exercise, full on. I would spend maybe weeks, sometimes months, developing this one thing that I'm so focused on. And then the minute this one idea would be this close to becoming a reality, I would stop. Whether it was me or something inside of me asking me to stop, I didn't know. But my whole progress would just simply come to a halt and just stop and vanish, and as if all the work that I've been doing equals to nothing. So I was like literally so amazed by how much effort I was putting behind everything that I was doing, and then how suddenly I would stop and completely lose focus, completely lose interest, completely lose anything that I wanted to do about that idea. And I would take everything out or everything away, and I would put it somewhere where I would never see it ever again. And I can assure you, all of these ideas, and they were quite a few, are there somewhere, and I haven't looked at them since. Now, what I thought later on when I started my own journey, I was thinking to myself, why is it that I do this? What's happening? Why do I always reach this place where I am so excited about something? And I tell you, I kid you not, the level of excitement, and if you, I wish my friends were here, you could just ask. They would tell you, oh my God, there's no stopping her. She would like go and do everything in her power to make this happen. And yet nothing, you know? So I was wondering after a while, like, why am I doing this? Why is this happening to me? To me. And now I've learned never to say this actually again. But at that time, this was my thinking. Why is this happening to me? Or why does this keep happening to me? You know? And I want to ask you, like, how many of you do you ask yourself this question? Like maybe every day. How many of you ask the question, why is this happening to me? Or why do these things keep on happening to me? And we always sit in that place where we feel like the whole world is against us, and something or someone out there has got this, mission to ruin us or ruin our life. When I started working on myself, I realized that, there's no one out there waiting for you to make your mistakes. There's no one out there who's actually hooting for you to make mistakes. There's no one out there who wants you to mess up. I'm trying so hard not to use bad words. Because this mess that I was in, it actually made me want to use a lot of bad words. So when I was thinking, most of the time I would ask myself, why does this keep happening to me? And sometimes you think that things are happening because they are happening. And what I realized when I started working on myself and when I did my own discovery about me, I realized that nothing happens in life, in each person's life, or in my life, let's say in that case, nothing happens in my life that I do not allow or that I do not bring into my life. So let me explain this. Sometimes people would say, but there are bad circumstances. There are circumstances that we are put in that that are outside of our control. And I say, yeah, maybe that's true. Sometimes there are circumstances that are not in our control. But what is in our control? What is in our control is the way we react to those circumstances, or the way we look at those circumstances, or what we do with those circumstances. So it's true that sometimes maybe life, or maybe other people, or maybe circumstances are thrown at us. But what we choose to do with what we are receiving is what makes or breaks the deal for us. So when life throws a curveball at you, your reaction and your action towards that is what matters. And this is what will set the tone for your life. Let me know if you agree with this, because a lot of people think, yeah, but this is not something we can control. It's true, but you can control you. You can control everything that is related to you from within. And your reactions to things are in your hands. Your reactions are not something that is imposed on you from anyone except you. Think about it, right? Now, you could tell me, yes, but my reactions sometimes are wrong, or my reactions are hurting me. And this is where we start digging and we start trying to figure out where are these reactions coming from, and why are they this way, or why are we acting this way rather than that way? What is making us as people react the way we react? It's true that we are in control. However, there's a big part of us, okay? If we are not aware, there's a huge part of us that is running our life on an autopilot system. That part of us is our subconscious mind. Now, our subconscious mind is probably the smartest thing about us, because it can literally run our life without us being involved ever. So if we let it happen, it will happen, and we will survive, and we will be living our life. Our subconscious mind, which is another way, or in other way, also our body, okay, is what is leading almost everything in our life. Imagine that if you have to think about every single thing that you do or that your body does. Like, imagine if I am blinking, I have to think of that action, or I have to consciously give that order. Imagine that every time my heartbeat beats, I am consciously giving that order for my heart to beat. And along with that order, there are millions of other orders that I should give for my body to survive, right? For all my organs to work, for my lungs to breathe, for my eyes to see, for my ears to hear, for my mouth to talk, for my tongue to taste. So imagine all of these are actually not running on an autopilot system. That probably is not something that anyone can imagine, right? So this is the importance of our subconscious mind. So we cannot really neglect how valuable that part of us is. Now, the thing about the subconscious mind is that it's not only about controlling everything that we do. It's not only about running the major parts of us on an autopilot system. It's also that library, or I don't want to call it library, actually, I want to call it a well, a water well. Because what happens is, as we grow up, from the age of 2 to the age of 7, almost those 5 years. So the age of 2 is when we are already kind of aware of everything around us. We have more awareness and we can figure things out. We're not necessarily eloquent or speaking properly yet, until the age of 7, when we can express more. But during those 5 years, what happens is, as kids, we are literally absorbing everything. And when I say everything, I mean literally everything around us. At that age, we, as children, we do not have the level of discernment to decide whether we absorb one idea and leave the other, or we absorb this one and leave that one. That's why we absorb everything. And this is also another reason why at that age, it's very easy for children to learn. And that's why also we tell people, or parents, for example, to speak different languages with their kids so that they can pick up on all these languages, because at that age, they are just absorbing everything that they are seeing around them. Now, among the things that they are seeing are also the things that are not necessarily useful for them, or are also traumatic, or are hurtful, or they make them develop as kids things that they will not be using when they are older, and things that may actually hinder them when they become older. So let me give you an example. I always give this example when I work about, when I talk about the inner child and what happens with us when we are kids. So in our culture, the culture that I am from, it was very common for parents to, for example, force feed their kids, right? It's something that I saw a lot happening in my surrounding as I was growing up. And of course, it happened with me and with my siblings. And there was always this reason behind the force feeding that, I love you and I want you to become big and strong. And, I want you to have a good life and a good health. And yet I am being force fed something that I don't really like to eat as a child. And the reasoning is because I love you. So what happens in the mind of a child? You are, as a child, being told that you are loved, but you are being force-fed. So the connection that happens in your brain when your neurons start firing and wiring together is that love means being treated badly, because force feeding is not a good treatment. It's someone being treated in a bad way. So that force feeding and connecting it to love subconsciously becomes a program. That means that love comes with hurt, or love equals hurt. And what happens when we develop this, and I tell you from my own personal experience, that every single relationship I had in my life, I had to feel hurt so that I can feel the love. And that started with me when I was 3 and 4 and 5, until the age of, I think until the age of even 8 and 9, I was being treated that way by my mom. So this is how delicate the time that we have as children on this planet, on this earth, when we come here. And that's what happens literally when we are between the age of 2 and 5. And all these programs that we are learning, they will go and they will live with us throughout the year and the years. And then throughout the years, we will go through more experiences, and all these experiences will go through the same process. So we will learn from them, and that learning becomes part of our subconscious mind, especially if we are repeating the same things. And this is the thing that tends to happen. How do we learn? Like when you were a kid, when you were at school, let's say you wanted to memorize something, what did you do? You would read it again and again and again, and then it would become something that you know by heart. So repetition, I always say this, repetition is the mother of skills. The more you repeat, the more your skill becomes developed. So as we go through our life, we sort of develop that skill because we are repeating that same pattern that we were used to since we were kids, because we didn't know better, because nobody came to us and told us, but this is wrong. That's not how it's supposed to be. We always reach a place like no one at the age of 5 or 6 or 7 was told love has to be this way. This is how love works, or this is how success looks like. On the contrary, you know, as kids, we were always being told or scolded, like, why are you having bad grades? Or if you are having bad grades, you would always be scolded, you would always be shamed, and you develop this fear that you will never be good enough. You will never be that person who can actually succeed. And as a child, you don't even know that this is happening to you, but it is happening to you, and it becomes part of your being. And when you reach a place like I did, when I was doing all these programs and all these ideas, and I wanted to conquer the world with those ideas, and then I would stop, because in my mind, but I realized later, in my mind, what was happening was I was always afraid. I was always afraid of being judged. I was always afraid of not being good enough to be able to do this. I was always afraid of people thinking, who is she to be able to do something like that? Those feelings, those hindering, or those breaks that I was putting for myself, they did not come out of nowhere. They did not just, you know, happen to be there when that happened. They have been living with me since I was a kid. Because since I was a kid, I was always been told that I'm not good enough at school, that I will always fail, and I'm always a failure. So these words, when you are hearing them as a child, maybe there and then they don't affect you, but they live with you, and they become part of who you are. And that personality of yours is built on those foundations. Now, the beauty of working with figuring out what your limitations are, and that's the first topic, the first part of the topic today, is identifying what are these limitations that you have. So when you start your self-development journey, what you want to do is you want to go through your life, and you want to jot down everything that you are going through now, right? So that's why, for example, journaling is a very important exercise, and it's an exercise. Like, I'm not someone I used to, when I was a very young kid, I used to love writing, and then at some point in time I lost that interest completely, and now I have it again, and I like writing, and I love talking about everything that I go through, and I love putting it in writing. But when I was doing this exercise of me discovering me, I had to do everything in writing, because I had to let everything out so that I can see what is happening, so that I can understand why I was limiting myself. What is it that was stopping me? What is it that was hindering me? And I found out that I had that fear of failure. I had that fear of, not fear, I had that, I used to feel ashamed all the time, because this is how I was raised. It was always like, you know, shame on you, you didn't get a good grade. Shame on you, that person is better than you. Shame on you, your cousin is doing way much better in school. You know, and that comparison that we used to live in when we are kids. This is what happens when we grow up, when we become older, and throughout our life, not just when we become older and when we realize, oh, maybe now I need to think about this. Throughout our life, we are living this way, and this is building up. And people, what happens is, some people get to a point where they kind of, you know, when I was giving this example to someone I was speaking to today. So when you have a bottle, right? And this bottle now has got some space in it, but if you fill it to the top and then you want to fill it more, it's going to explode, because it's going to just go all over the place. And this is what happens when you are in your on your self-development journey. This is how it starts, basically, because you reach a point where you can't take it anymore. You start having panic attacks, you start feeling overwhelmed all the time, and most of the time you don't know why. Most of the time you have no clue why this is happening. Why are you feeling overwhelmed? Why are you feeling like anxious all the time? Why do you wake up because of an anxiety attack? You're sleeping. You're supposed to be completely unaware, completely, relaxed. Yet you wake up with a panic attack. So these things happen because in our subconscious mind is never sleeping. Things are always happening. And the more we load it, this is what's going to happen. We're going to reach to a point where we're going to explode. Now, when we explode, we can either explode in a way where we allow ourselves to release and try to understand why this is happening and how we can sort it out and how we can move from here to here, and do the right thing for us. Or we can choose, and believe me, it's always a choice, nothing imposed on us. It's always a choice. Or we can choose to be that victim and sit in that corner and think that everything is happening to us. And why is this happening to me? Why am I always failing? Why is life not fair to me? Why is nobody here to help me? Why do I feel always like I'm on the sidewalk and nobody cares about me and nobody wants to be there to support me, So today, what I'm trying to say is, if in any way you are in that place, please be that person who wants to figure out why and how to overcome this, because you can overcome it. If I did it, so can you. I am just an ordinary person who has been through a lot, and I found a way. So if I found a way, I'm sure anyone else can do that, right? So that's the importance of understanding where your limitations are. Because when you understand your limitations, and when you understand the basis of those limitations, you basically want to figure out, we call them shadows. You basically want to figure out what your shadows are. And when you figure out what those shadows are, you will learn how to somehow, one way or another, get rid of them. And I have some of those tools already. So I used those tools. And the fascinating thing is, when I started my journey, I used to do something that we call muscle testing to see if I have that limitation or not. And the last time I did the muscle testing, out of maybe, I would think somewhere between 800 and 900, something like that, limitations or limiting beliefs, I could count maybe 10 or 15. And I also worked on those. So if I do my muscle testing again now, I don't even have those anymore. But that takes work, and that takes dedication. And that also takes something very important, that you want to really dig deeper and understand who you truly are from within. Because often what happens is, we live our life through the eyes of others. Now, what do I mean by that? Like, as we grow up, there's always one of our parents who's always pushing us to do something because that's what they think is better for us, you know, like you better be a lawyer, or you better be a doctor, or you have to follow the footsteps of your father, and you have to take on the business of your father and you know, become that entrepreneur. While if you wanted to really sit with yourself and really understand who you truly are, maybe you are so far off and so far away from that. Don't you? Let me know if you agree about this. I'm not sure if the chat is working. I hope it is. So if it is, please let me know if you think, you know, you had the opportunity as you were growing up, or you were forced. Let's not say you had the opportunity. If you were forced without even knowing to do something that is so far away from who you truly are. And then you reach a point in your life where you stop and you say, hang on a minute, why am I doing this? I don't even like this. Why is it that I am living this life when it's really not the life that I want to live? When it's really so far that you know, thanks Farida for letting me know. I'm not sure how to do this now, but you can ask. How about you use the Q&A if you have any comments and put them there? Yeah. So we reach a point during our life where we stop and we think, especially if we are in that place where we are questioning everything. This is how an awakening starts, you know. We reach to a place where we start questioning and we start thinking, okay, hang on, why am I doing this in my life? How is this helping me in any way? How am I, you know, any better this way? Or how is this adding value to my life? Or why am I even doing this? I don't care about this. Why am I doing this? Then you start, those questions start opening doors and doors and doors of you diving within to understand truly who you are, to understand truly what are your triggers, to understand truly what is it that moves you, what is it that makes you really want to do anything or something. What is that something that makes you, for example, want to move in your life? What is it? What is that trigger that makes you feel happy, that makes you feel excited, that makes you feel high, even without the need to be on anything? And many of us go through life without reaching that point where we question, and we just go with the flow of how life is happening, and we never question, and we never stop, and life passes us by, and we find ourselves maybe on our deathbed thinking, what happened in the past 80 years, 90 years? Where am I? What did I achieve? And most of the time we find that, you know, nothing. 5% of people who start a life wanting to be something amazing, like only 5% actually succeed, because only these 5%, in fact, know what they want, are focused on that, and do all the action required for them to reach. And everyone else, the other 95%, are just following the flow and going with the flow. Now, my question to you, do you want to be among the 95 or the 5%? Let me know in the Q&A, because apparently the chat is not working. I'll fix it for next time. So you want to be among those 5%. You don't want to be among the 95% who live their life really without a proper purpose, without knowing what's happening, without knowing where they're going. The other 5% who are the successful 5%, the successful 5%, I tell you, you might think that they are only the millionaires or the people who are out there like living a free life. No. Anyone who puts a target for themselves knows exactly what that target is and works towards it. That is a successful person. So if today, let's say, you decide you want to do something and you go ahead and do it and achieve it, you're successful. Whether you make $1 million or not, that's irrelevant. Success, yeah, I know, Farida, me too. Everyone wants to be. I'm sure everyone wants to be among the 5%. So if you want to be among the 5%, you want to do the work. You want to make sure that you don't just think and talk like I used to do, with my ideas. But then I stop because what was hindering me was going back to my subconscious mind, my ego also was telling me, hey, you'll never succeed in this. You won't be able to do it. Let's stay here because here we know, we are familiar with this. Let's stay here. It's better for us. This is how your brain talks to you when you are about to embark on something extraordinary and something amazing for your life. What happens is your limiting beliefs are triggering everything, and your limiting beliefs will trigger your ego. Your ego, the job of your ego is to always keep you safe, is to always make sure that, nothing weird or nothing extraordinary happens because it's not familiar with it. So what happens is your ego will start telling you things about that place where you're thinking of going, that no, it's not a good place. It's not safe. What if we fail? What if something happens? It's a place where we don't know. I don't want to go there. I want to stay in my comfort zone. And this is why a lot of people fail, because they stick to their comfort zone, because they believe that this is the best place for them. What makes you think that outside of your comfort zone is not comfortable? Maybe it's even more comfortable. And I can tell you, it might be difficult at the beginning. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be a smooth sail. It might be difficult. You know why it's going to be difficult? Not might, it's going to be difficult because you're going to be facing everything that you have within. You're going to be figuring out every single detail about you. And that, my friend, takes courage. And that takes persistency. And that takes consistency. And that takes work and action. Are you ready for that? Are you ready to do that for yourself? Because the minute you open that door and you go in, first of all, true, it's going to be a tricky journey, but the results are, I bet you, and I promise you, the results are worth it. They are worth every step that you take. They are worth maybe every teardrop that you have to go through when you discover everything about yourself. Even sometimes when you are trying to do your inner discovery, you're trying to figure out yourself and you are connecting with yourself to know what triggers you, to know who you truly are, to know your real purpose, to know your real passions, to know your own do's and don'ts, your own boundaries. You will go through a phase when you will be faced, I don't like to call them demons, but kind of, you will be faced with a lot of negativity. You will go through a lot of maybe heartache. maybe resentment. Not maybe, for sure, you will go through a lot of resentment, because you will start realizing how much, how many hurdles have been created for you from when you were a child. And you will be really focused on getting out of this. Now, when you are focused on getting out of this, then you are in those 5%. And when you take the action and when you do the work, you're definitely in those 5%. And only when you do the work, only when you give yourself that break, when you say yes to yourself, this is when things start changing. This is when you start seeing a difference in your life. And change, my friends, is not necessarily, a lot of people think that they want to change and they want to see their change happening overnight. Some people are lucky and they can do that change overnight. And some people, it takes them longer, but that change will come. What happens is when we are on this journey, we might, and this is why some people procrastinate and they start falling back in their old habits, because they're expecting things to change for them straight away. And then when they don't change as they please, because they want them to change right here, right now, and when that doesn't happen, they fall back. Kind of like when people go on diet. And they go on diet, and if after the first 2 weeks there's no change, they give up and they start going back to their old habits of eating the wrong food, of not exercising, of I don't know, maybe drinking too much, maybe having a lot of sugar, binge eating. So, and why does this happen? Because they surrender because of not seeing instant results. And some people are lucky enough, well, it's not lucky, but they have that strength, they have that energy, they have that will power that can make them change literally overnight. So this is what happens. And you want to give yourself that grace. You want to give yourself that, what do you call it? That chance, really, to develop, that chance to become the best version of who you truly, deeply inside are. I personally believe that every single one of us is a champion. Every single one of us is divine. Every single one of us has all the divinity that exists out there. The difference is that we go through life in a different way. We have different surroundings. And sometimes, even if we have different surroundings, we develop the same limitations because of not only the things that we learn from our parents, but we also learn a lot from the group consciousness, from everyone around us. And these are, for example, the societal limitations. Like society tells you, for example, if you come from the same background where I come from, maybe not necessarily my background, but in a lot of countries around, let's say, the Middle East, women, for example, were not supposed to be schooled. Women are supposed to be taking care of the family. Their job is to have kids, and their job is to nurture their kids and take care of their husband. And it's the husband's job to have a job and protect his family and take care of his family. But a woman should never be that person. Now, a lot of this has changed, but believe me, there are lots of cultures out there that still believe in this, you know? And if you have been living in that culture, that group consciousness has grown with you as well. And because it grew with you, it created that limitation within you that you don't even know about, that you don't even know it exists in you. But it's hindering your life, and you don't know why your life is blocked or your life is stopping here and not there. And one of these limitations, which will bring me to my third point that I want to focus on today, which is the clutter. And when I talk about clutter, it's very important to remember that everything around us, including us, is about energy. It's made of energy. Everything is made up of atoms, right? And atoms, they are not stable, they move. And that movement is the energy, right? Now, the slower the movement, the heavier the energy. The faster the movement, the lighter the energy. So what happens when we clutter? Clutter basically is having a lot of things. Whether we need them or not is irrelevant. Just the fact of having so many things and keeping everything and never throwing things away and always finding a reason why this item should stay. And I tell you this, I mean, I lived my whole life up until the age of 25 when I was living with my parents. Our house was, I cannot, and even until today, I cannot call it a home. I can call it a warehouse. I can call it a dumpster. I can call it anything except a home. You know, like, for example, in my mom is a hoarder. Like, she would never throw anything away. And every time I go back home where I am from, every time I step into the house, I feel so down. I feel like there's so much on my shoulders. It's as if I am carrying every single item that exists in that house over my shoulders. This is how heavy I feel. And what I did even in my parents' house, I asked my mom to clear my room and never put anything in my room, because this is my room, and I made it a point that this room will never have anything put in it except the things that I want to put in it. But she cannot help it. It's beyond her control. And she doesn't even realize that this is a problem. And that's what happens when people are hoarders. They don't even realize that this is actually a problem. And the problem is not because they are only keeping things. It's because the energy of all those things is eating away their own energy. And you find, like, if you have someone like this in your life, notice the sort of feelings that they have. Notice their body language. Notice their body posture, not just their body language, their body posture. I have been contemplating this, and I've been noticing that people who hoard, their body posture tends to be like this. Let me know in the comments or in the Q&As if you can relate to that, or if you ever have someone in your life who has this habit of keeping everything and never throwing anything, if you feel like their posture is also curved as well, because they're kind of carrying the energy of everything around them, and there's no space for their own energy. That's why they feel like this most of the time. And that's why when you, as a person, because your energy is huge, your energy is your aura, and your aura is huge. It's very big, right? Now, because it's very big, it needs that space. And let me explain to you a little bit when I say aura. Like, have you ever been in a place and somebody comes in and without even looking in their direction, you feel like somebody just came in? That's because their energy has arrived and it has reached you even before they reached you. Do you ever feel this way when somebody comes into a room and you feel like, what just happened? You know, you can feel that there's a shift in, because their energy is there and it's that big. When they arrive, you can actually feel it. Now, if that energy does not have the space to move around, that person is going to start feeling like this, right? And the more stuff you have around, the less space you will have for your own energy. And guess what? If you don't have space for your own energy, you cannot create, you cannot receive, you cannot be that person who is abundant. And every clutter that exists is caused by a mentality of lack. People keep things because in their mind, they are thinking from a lack point of view, not from an abundance point of view. If you are thinking from an abundance point of view, you will know that anything that you desire in life, whether you have it right now or not, you're going to get it. That's when you are in your abundance. That's when you are. And every single person on this planet has the divine right to be abundant. We came on this planet as abundant creatures. We are abundant. We have access to everything. It's only the conditioning that we've been through in our life that created all those limitations. And we started thinking that, no, I cannot do that because I'm not good enough. I cannot do that because I'm going to fail. Because my parents told me that I'm going to fail, or my teacher told me that I'm going to fail, or my friends have been telling me for years and years when I was a kid that I'm a failure, that I will never be able to do things right. So this is how I survived this is how I lived my whole life. What do you think is going to happen when I'm older? Of course, I'm going to be using those shadows, and using those limitations to mold my life accordingly. And that's why it's very important to find those limitations and remove them. And you can remove them. It's not like it's not something that cannot be done. It's doable, and there are tools to do that as well. Okay, so that clutter creates a lack. It's already coming from lack, and it creates more and more lack. So if you want to receive things in your life, if you want to manifest things in your life, you will never be able to do so if your space is cluttered. And when your space is cluttered, your mind will be cluttered. And your mind is cluttered by all the thoughts that you tell yourself every single day about anything, Like if somebody passes by, or if, let's say, you are at work and then there's a new employee at work, right? Your brain is going to tell you, who's that? Why did they recruit that person? Is he better than me? Is he going to take my job? Should I be worried? This is what your brain will tell you. Let me know if that's not the case. Every time something happens in our life, we start creating stories. And like I was telling someone today, what we want to learn is we want to learn how to change our story, because it's our story. It's not their story. It's not my parents' story. It's not my father's story, not my mother's story, not my sibling's story. It's my story. I am the one in control of my story. And if I manage to change my story and be the person that I am today, every single one of you out there can change their story. All that you need to do is be among those 5%. And to be among those 5%, you want to have the plan, you want to execute on the plan, and then when you do that, you will see the results. But you want to action. You can learn so much. I've learned so much in my life, but I can tell you the things that I did not embody, the things that I did not become, I don't even know what they are anymore, although I've learned them, and I may have learned them the hard way as well. And I may have paid so much to learn them, but because I never embodied them, I never was that person. I never put myself in the own shoes that I really want to be in. So everything that you want in your life, you want to embody, you want to live that person. Even if you think it's impossible, it's not. And that's how you develop. That's how you become among those 5% of people who are successful, who are free. And freedom is not only financial freedom. Freedom is every single freedom you can think of in your life. Freedom is you waking up in the morning and you deciding how your day is going to be. That is freedom. Freedom is you waking up in the morning and remembering that you are the creator of everything in your life. That's the best freedom you can ever get. Because when you reach that freedom, then you can create whatever you want. If financial freedom is what you want, you will create it. If success is what you want, you will create it. If you want to be the most famous, book writer in the world, you will be that person, because now you know that you are the creator and you are the one who is in control of your own life, because you've gone through the whole process of cleaning everything, and now you have the space to receive everything that you deserve, everything that actually you are, but was hidden. Like those limitations, they literally hide you. They hide that champion, that champion that you actually are. I can talk about this forever, I tell you. And this is why I actually did that. That's why I actually do this. And this is where I have that invitation for you. If at any point in time during this webinar, you felt like, oh my God, Maysoon, you're literally talking not to me, you're talking about me. I am that person. I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly what you mean. And I'm going through this now, today. My invitation to you is to get on a call with me, because I might have the right tools that you can use today to start moving forward and moving away from stagnation, moving away from procrastinating, moving away from repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again, and moving towards success, moving towards the action that you want to take for your life, the action that you prefer to have in your life, the desires that you prefer to have in your life. If you feel that, yes, I want to do this, and yes, this person can actually guide me, this person can actually help me, all you need to do is just if you are watching the replay, under the video, you can just put the word, what was the word I decided on? Oh man, I can't remember the word I decided on. Champion. I think I decided on the word champion. Put the word champion in the comments, or message me the word champion in Messenger, okay, on Messenger. And I will reach out to you. And there's a link that I'm going to put also with the webinar replay. That link is a link to have a call with me. On this call, we will go through whatever you are going through in your life. We will dig deeper on all the circumstances that you have, everything that you are going through. We will also learn about what your desires are. And I'll give you a lot of tools that you can use there and then to start moving forward. And then at the end, if I find that you and me are good to work together or can actually work together, and if I find that the energy is right, and if I find that I'm actually the right person to support you on your journey, I will tell you then how working with me will look like. So all you need to do is book that call, and we will get on a 30 minutes to 1 hour call together. We will dive into your situation. We will understand where you want to be. And from there, I will also be giving you a lot of tools that you can use today. And at the end, if I'm the right person for you, you will feel it, I will know it, and I'll show you what it looks like to work with me. So all you need to do is book that call or send champion, and I'll chat with you on Messenger. And with that, I'm going to have to say good night for tonight, because for me, it's 11 p.m. I don't know where you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. And I will see you again next week. Remember, champion, if you want me to get in touch with you, or just simply book the call and let's do this. And I'll see you again next week. Ciao, ciao.